Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Oh, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am back. We are right here in the saddle, back at it here on March 26th, and you know what else and who else is back? Baseball and the New York Mets. As today, the Mets do what the Mets have done many times throughout franchise history, and that is go out and win on opening day. They get the dub over the Pittsburgh Pirates by a final score of 11-7. This one started off a little bit shaky. I think we can all agree we were just a teeny tiny bit concerned, despite the additions that we made this offseason to the lineup, that it was going to be tough getting to Paul Skeens, as we know, probably the best pitcher on the planet. They don't even let the guy get out of the first inning as they put a 5 spot on him, aided by some questionable defensive miscues out there in center field by O'Neal Cruz. But the Mets never relinquished the lead after that. We get Carson Benge's first career home run. We get a moonshot from Francisco Alvarez, and it all totals up to the Mets getting the 11-7 victory. We're going to break it all down. We're going to chat it up. Welcome back to the streams, guys. It was a long, cold winter and off season. Today is 65 out here where I live, and man, it looked beautiful at Citi Field. I only wish I could have been there for the win today, but welcome in one and all. I am Tony Metro. You guys know the drill. Daily Mets content here on my channel and post-game streams after every single game, at least what I'm capable of doing. Hopefully we'll eclipse our number from last year. I think it was about 102. So let's see if we can do even more this season. But be sure to hit that subscribe button if you are not already subbed to this channel. This is your place for all the latest Mets news, rumors, topics, opinions, and to chat it up with Bell. Mets fans, leave this video a like. Go ahead, do that right now. Really appreciate that. Helps the channel out big time. And you can follow me on all the other platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and what's the other one? Facebook. The links to all those are in the description of this video down below. We got some people popping off in the chat already. The Bros, LGM, Adam, LGM, we back. Yeah, let's go, baby. Arthurman, we back. That's right. We are back. We are in the saddle, ladies and gentlemen. What a fun W, man. I mean, like I said, this game started off and you're a little bit concerned. Freddie Peralta making his Mets debut. He is greeted rudely, I should say, by the first two in the order for the Pirates. You get O'Neal Cruz working a 3-2 count, popping a little base hit into right center field that falls in front of Luis Robert Jr. I am officially, by the way, going by Luis Robert Jr. from now on. That is what Howie Rose introduced him as on the opening day roll call ceremony. So I am going with Luis Robert Jr. moving forward. And then you had Brandon freaking Lau. I don't have to be confused whether it's Lowe or Lau because they were teammates on the Rays last year, because now we know Brandon Lau is officially a Met killer. The 2-run skyrocketed homer into right field that just barely gets one row deep out of Carson Benge's reach to put the Pirates up 2-0. So I wasn't concerned. I didn't think that the Mets were going to lay down and die from that point, but obviously we knew this was going to be a difficult time for the Mets going up against Paul Skeens. Of course, as I said before, I think probably the best pitcher on the planet, right there with Tariq Skubal. He has had the Mets number before. The Mets have done a little bit of damage against him in the past, but never anything like they did today, because they start this top of the first inning. Francisco Lindor starting that count 3-0, which immediately told me, all right, maybe Skeens isn't on his game. And the next 2 strikes were actually missed calls by the umpire. It probably should have been a walk for Lindor on 4 pitches or even 5 pitches after the first blown call. Luckily, Lindor fouls another pitch away, works a 7-pitch walk, gets on base. Juan Soto dunks one into right center field, and then the Mets have first and third, and they're cooking. Bo Bichette in his first Mets at bat doing what Bo Bichette does, and that is get runners home that are in scoring position. It's a sac fly down the right field line, and then the craziness ensued. I don't want it to go under or to be overlooked, I guess is a better way to say it. Luis Robert Jr. had an amazing at bat after Jorge Polanco. Jorge Polanco, I believe, if I can't, I'm sorry, this was a long game, ladies and gentlemen. As you guys all know, I know you all watched the game as well. Polanco walked, and then it was Luis Robert Jr., who fell down with 2 strikes in that count and ends up fouling away multiple tough pitches from Paul Skeens, laying off really tough pitches on the margins for balls, and eventually finally working out an 11-pitch walk to load the bases for Brett Baty. And Brett Baty able to lace that one into center field. It gets over the head of O'Neal Cruz, who absolutely misplayed that ball. It clears the bases. It ends up going down as a 3-run triple for Baty to put the Mets out in front, and they would go ahead 5-2 after that first inning. But what an at-bat from Luis Robert Jr. I don't want that to be overlooked or to just fall by the wayside. None of that inning is possible without Robert Jr.'s tremendous at-bat to work the 11-pitch walk and put Baty in the position to hit that 3-run triple. So, wow. The Mets end up knocking Skeens out of this game. I did not have that on my bingo card. I know that is a cliche saying, but I was not expecting to see Skeens last just 2/3 of an inning. I mean, just unbelievable stuff there. They got his pitch count up into the mid-30s, 35 around there, I think, when Baty hit that triple. And I was thinking, okay, well, if nothing else, we probably are going to be able to knock Skeens out of this game within the first 4 to 5 innings, right? That's what I'm thinking, that, hey, hopefully you cash in, because you know the saying about, some of the best pitchers in baseball, if you don't get to them early, especially when you have that early opportunity, that's when they settle into a groove, and that might be your only chance to actually do damage against them. Fortunately, the Mets were able to do that. They go ahead 5-2. Brandon Lau, of course, with another home run later in this game, his second off of Freddie Peralta. So he started his Pirates career with 2 home runs in his first 2 at-bats in the black and gold. But overall, Freddie Peralta finishes his day with 5 innings, 4 earned runs on 6 hits. He also strikes out 7 and doesn't walk any. We're going to get into him in a little bit here, but you know what? Let's go back to the chat over here. Danny Caps, LFGM. Yes, sir. Danny, welcome to the chat. Edward Christian Aquan. I am so happy today. Mets look so new right now. I know it's just the first game, but the mood is already changed from last year. LGM. Look, it's the first game. I know last year the Mets lost opening day. It was a pretty meek 3-1 loss, 2-1 loss, if I recall. And if you guys remember, Juan Soto striking out with the potential as the potential game tying or go ahead run against Josh Hader. So the vibes were different on opening day last year, but it is just one game. It is just opening day. But look, this is a lot of the stuff that I was hoping we were going to see from this team. Obviously not the kind of performance I would want to see often out of Freddie Peralta. It wasn't a terrible Mets debut for Peralta on the hill. It wasn't a great one, but like I've said, I think this lineup is going to be relentless. I think this lineup is going to put up really professional at-bats 1 through 9, and that's exactly what they did today. Now, you have to, of course, admit the Pirates kicked the ball around a lot today, not just the 2 miscues by Cruz in center field. There was a throwing error on the first, and then I believe another one that got away from them, a pass ball as well. So the Pirates looked a little sloppy defensively today. They walked, I think, something like 7 or 8. Let's see how many walks did the Mets draw today. 9 walks for the Mets today. But yeah, this is what I expected from this new look lineup. So I'm with you there, Edward. Niners Command, let's go Mets. What's good, Tony? What's up, Niners Command? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Ray, Tony, Skeens getting knocked out in the first inning was priceless. That was chef's kiss. I mean, you could not have paid me any amount of money to wager on Paul Skeens getting knocked out in the first inning. I did not expect that, and it's clearly the worst start of his career, and not even close. So, look, again, that base hit, or rather the miscue by O'Neal Cruz on Marcus Simeon's pop out to center field does go down as a double because it did not touch his glove or his body or anything like that. It really should not have been charged as an earned run to Paul Skeens on that one. And, of course, he misplayed Baty's triple. He really probably should have had a better beat on that and at least had a chance to catch that instead of allowing all 3 runs to score on that one. So it's a tough day for Skeens, but you won't hear me crying for him or for anyone else in the league. The Mets, have their own problems all the time, right? Let's see. Edward said some insights though. Peralta looks kind of rough and Bo looks undisciplined at the plate, but it's just the first game. Mostly our acquisitions, new faces looked good today. Amazing Mets indeed. And I'm glad you bring that up there, Edward, because 6 of the 11 Mets runs were driven in today by new members of this lineup. So you had 2 from Luis Robert Jr. He had an RBI base hit with 2 outs and 2 strikes back in the 4th inning. So that was nice to pat on to their 5-3 lead at that time. And then again in the 5th inning, it was actually that little nubber that went into no man's land between the pitcher's mound and first base that he was able to beat out with the bases loaded. So 2 RBIs from Luis Robert Jr. Marcus Semien gets credited with an RBI, like I said, on that Sun-aided double that really, in my opinion, you can't not make it a hit because it didn't touch Cruz's glove or anything like that. But we all know that's really should not be a base hit or an RBI. It doesn't matter. He gets the credit. And of course, Carson Benge with his first career home run, the solo shot into the bullpen in right center field. Jorge Polanco drew a bases loaded walk, and Bo Bichette was able to get that first run of the game home in the 1st inning with the sac fly down the right field line. So I understand Bichette definitely looked undisciplined. He had a chance there in the 5th inning with the bases loaded, and he probably fouled off at least 7 or 8 pitches. And I would say probably 4 of them were balls. So Bichette, and he ends up striking out on what would have been a ball close to the letters as well. So yes, Bichette, we know he's a free swinger. He is a contact guy, though. I think it was a little bit of first time in Queens type of jitters for Bichette, and that's all it was. And at the end of the day, still came away with a productive at-bat in the beginning of this one. So I think everyone will start to get comfortable. I think Peralta, he's going to be fine. I don't think we're going to have too many performances like this. I think we'll get better ones from him moving forward. Look, Brandon Lau is really the biggest damage. I do have to give credit to Freddie Peralta for what happened in the 5th inning. That was right after Robert had his first RBI single to make it 6-3. And the first 2 batters of the inning for the Pirates, it was a base knock and then that double down the left field line to get another run back for Pittsburgh. And from there, it looked like the wheels might totally come off on his afternoon. Instead, Peralta was able to bear down, get the next 3 guys, and get out of that inning and finish his day on a positive note, not let the Pirates inch any closer or have to go to their bullpen in the middle of the game. So I think it was a good, not great performance from Freddie Peralta. Like I said, 5 innings, 4 earned runs on 6 hits. He also strikes out 7 in this one, doesn't issue any walks. So I'm going to give him a B- grade for his Mets debut. It was not the prettiest thing. Those 2 home runs obviously put a dent in his day, but overall, I chalk some of it up to opening day, first day with a new team in front of a new home crowd type of jitters, and I think better days will be ahead for Peralta. Let's see, who else do we got here? Danny Caps, Robert Jr. just got the zeal of approval. I wish I could watch the SMY postgame show. Unfortunately, not where I live. So right now we got the Phillies on, who are leading 2-0, and the Reds, who are taking on Tampa Bay. No, I'm sorry, that's Reds versus Red Sox and Tampa Bay versus St. Louis. Meanwhile, it is Philly up 2-0 on the Texas Rangers out in Philadelphia. So let's see, Danny Camps. I know it's only 1 game, but it was sweet to see a home run from the 8 and 9 spot. Hey, that was awesome. And if you don't forget, you got to credit the bottom of the order getting that 3-run 5th inning started as well. So it was Carson Benge beginning with his first walk of the day to lead things off. Then it was Francisco Alvarez with a base hit to the right side, which was really nice to see. A scorcher of a line drive to right field to make it 1st and 2nd. Francisco Lindor. You look at the box score, you see, oh man, 0 for 2, no hits. Francisco Lindor drew 3 walks in this game. So people, the old age dinosaurs are going to point to the batting average. He doesn't get his season started until middle of May or June anyway. Well, he was integral in this one. He ends up drawing 3 walks and scored every time he was on the bases. So the walk to Lindor, Soto with the seeing eye single, Polanco with the bases loaded walk, and then Luis Robert Jr. with that little squeaker in between 1st and 2nd there. So again, it was the 8 and 9 spots not only hitting back-to-back home runs with Carson Benge and with Francisco Alvarez, it was also them starting that 3-run 5th inning with the walk and base hit from those 2. So yes, totally agree how nice that was. How many times last year did you see 6 through 9 in the order coming up and you knew you could just go walk in the other room because they weren't going to do anything. So hopefully that will be different this year for the Mets. Let's see, Joe Saturn, opening day, baby. Joe, what's up, man? Good to see you here. Yes, opening day, baby, indeed. As I adjust my camera, as you guys can see, we're back in our regular digs here, the OG studio. So looking forward to another full season, 162 roller coaster, the ups, the downs, the ecstasy, the hair pulling moments, and we're going to be here doing it with you guys all season long. Be sure to hit the sub button if you're not already and leave this video a like. Really appreciate that from you guys. Let's see. Danny Caps, box score, Bobby. I like it. Tony, I should pick Ohtani first? Absolutely. I think so. For your fantasy draft, without a doubt. I think you have to, Adam. Ohtani's Ohtani. I mean, look, I'd love to say Soto, but I would go Ohtani. I wouldn't go Schwarber. I don't do fantasy baseball. It's too much. I can't do the daily upkeep with that anymore. So I would definitely go with Ohtani. That's the safest, easiest bet. RM1042, Alvarez looked competent. We need him to produce in the bottom of the lineup. Look, I love Alvy hitting in the bottom of the lineup. Maybe there's going to be a point where we decide, hey, he's hitting so well, we should move him up in the order. But I mean, look, if you can have one that's as complete as what we saw today, 1 through 9, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So I am happy with what we saw from Alvy today. I loved his approach. I don't believe he had any strikeouts in this one. No strikeouts. He ends up 2 for 4. Like I said, the hit to right field, which you love to see him going to right field. That's usually the best form of Francisco Alvarez, but even better is seeing him hit a 429-foot bomb to left field. So yeah, really nice to see from there. I got to get a little sip of my afternoon coffee, guys. Give me a sec. Maybe the even better thing than Carson Benge having that just bomb of a homer to start his career here was drawing the 2 walks. That was really, really impressive. That was really nice to see, especially, like I said, that first one to get the rally started there in the 3-run 5th inning. So really happy about that. Let's see, who else do we got in here? Niners command. Yeah, Carson looks like a major league ready and unfazed for real. No doubt about it. No doubt. Someone's getting a curtain call out in St. Louis right now. I don't know who that is, but he just hit a bomb, put them up 1-0. Carson Benge, meanwhile, also, by the way, getting a curtain call after his first big league homer. Of course, as we know, his first big league hit as well. So that's awesome to see. But look, overall, you got to be really pleased with this lineup, as I will share my screen here with you guys. Hopefully, nope, that's not what we want. It didn't refresh. Oh, man, come on. All right, let's see if I can fix this on the fly so I could share my screen with you guys. What are your guys' biggest takeaways from today's game? For me, personally, it's the order. It's just how they looked really solid 1 through 9. They were relentless. They worked and grinded at bats. They didn't need to put the ball in play every single time because they were able to draw 11 walks, but they did put the ball in play on a couple occasions, and it turned into good things. I mean, who would think, right? The Mets end up striking out 10 times in this game. So look, I mean, it's going to happen. Beatty would 2. Bichette struck out 3 times, but overall, like, if you put the ball in play more often than not, something good is probably going to happen, especially with runners in scoring position. So happy about that. Blast radius, super solid, no doubt. How about Lou Bob, says Neck Man. Good game for him. Great game for Luis Robert Jr. No doubt. That was awesome to see. Really, really impressive at bat. Like I said, you can't just look, had Carson Benge not hit his home run and Alvy hit that bomb and had another hit, Luis Robert Jr. would have been on the thumbnail of this video, because that walk that he worked in the first inning is, in my opinion, maybe the biggest reason the Mets won this game. To come up with 1st and 3rd at that point, or 1st and 2nd, I believe it was, and to be up against Paul Skeens down in the count with 2 strikes, to lay off of the pitches that he laid off, to foul away some of the pitches that he fouled away to stay alive, draw an 11-pitch walk, up Skeens' pitch count, and load the bases for Beatty. Man, I don't know if the Mets win this game or even have that 5-run inning without that walk and the at bat that Luis Robert Jr. gave the Mets. So really, really impressive job and day for him, without a doubt. I'm with you. Blast radius, Alvarez is going to swat 35 homers. That would be pretty damn good, wouldn't it? 25 homers in 2023 for Alvarez. Obviously, the last 2 years have been just really up and down. I hope that would be the breaking out. That would be the emergence of Francisco Alvarez if he is able to hit 30-plus home runs this year, and would totally change the look of this lineup. Let's see. Who else is in here? Blast Radius. That was a team that showed patience at the plate and grinded at bats. Excellent, no doubt. And look, like I said, Skeens, you could tell from the jump, didn't look like he had it today. He went 3-0 on Lindor. He probably should have walked Lindor on 4 pitches. The ump missed the 4th ball. Then he missed the 5th ball to make it 3-2. And Lindor did eventually draw a walk 2 pitches later. But you could tell Skeens just didn't look like he had it today. And then you throw in a couple little, dinks and dunks in there. The errors from O'Neill Cruz in center field. And the Mets have a 5-run inning. But the Mets showed a lot of discipline. They showed a lot of just good plate awareness, just good at bats today, especially in that first against Skeens. So look, we're not going to get, an ace like Skeens being off of his game every single game. And we're not going to, there's going to be guys that go out and give good performances. But overall, the approach today, and it's only one game, looked a lot better than anything we saw last year. And I will not name that former hitting coach who shall not be named. RM 1042 Stearns put together a good lineup. They're not going to be flashy, but they're going to be annoying for the opposing starting pitchers. I mean, look, isn't that what Toronto was last year? That's pretty much exactly how the Blue Jays marched their way to Game 7 of the World Series. Very nearly won the whole damn thing because they were able to constantly put pressure on opposing defenses. They were constantly drawing walks, blooping hits. But, oh, by the way, they also can hit some home runs. They also have some pop. That's how this lineup is built, in my opinion. And honestly, that's how Milwaukee's lineup is built, which largely is a product of David Stearns as their general manager before becoming Pobo for the Mets. So I have long been saying this offseason, I thought this was going to be how the Mets win games as far as their lineup. They're going to be pesky. They're going to annoy opposing pitchers. They are going to work their pitch counts. They're going to put up professional at-bats 1 through 9. So I am really pleased with what we saw today. Again, it's one game. We cannot get too far ahead of ourselves. This could be the outlier, but I think that this is going to be very representative of what we see the Mets offense do for the majority of this season. So I am hyped about it. Who couldn't be? An opening day win, right? Come on, man. Who's not happy about that? Welcome to the stream, guys. If you are new, be sure to subscribe. Daily Mets content, post-game stream after every Mets game. Also follow me on all the other platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Links to all of those are in the description of this video down below. If I didn't already say it, go ahead and hit this hit like on this video. Really appreciate that. Goes a long way toward helping out the channel as well. And here we are. We're already getting the Pete Alonso to Jorge Polanco comparisons, as Danny Caps writes. Polanco 1 for 3, a hit, an RBI, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. Alonso 0 for 2, a walk, 2 Ks. Well, clearly the Mets made the right decision. There it is. We don't need to dissect it or analyze it any further for the rest of the year. The Mets have done it. They made the right choice. Jorge Polanco over Pete Alonso. No, I'm just kidding. I got that Orioles game on right now. They just scratched across 2 runs against the Minnesota Twins. I don't think Pete's been a part of it. I could be wrong. I kind of came in the middle of it, but we'll keep our eyes on that. Meanwhile, like I said, Philly taking on Texas. They are leading 2-0 in the middle of the 4th with Christopher Sanchez on the mound for them. You got Chicago taking a little bit of a beating, it looks like, 8-4 from the Nationals, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on, this is going to be embarrassing, guys, but yes, I did finally get glasses, and I can actually see now, and I can confirm 8-4 for the Nationals over the Cubbies right now. Okay, wow, I wonder who pitched for Chicago today. But guys, biggest takeaways from the game for you guys today. Let me know. I want to hear it in the comment section. I'd like to be able to share my screen so we could go and listen to some stuff from Mendoza, but right now, as you can see, we're stuck on this stupid still frame of me. Oh, there I am, kind of. Okay, we could do this. Why don't we do this? Yeah, that'll work. Okay, just paste this one right there. All right, look at us. Who's better than us, huh? All right, so we take a look at the box score here for the Mets tonight, afternoon, however you want to say it. Francisco Lindor, like I said, he goes hitless in this game, but 3 walks. And guess what? Scored in all 3 of those times on base. So good day for Francisco Lindor, despite being hitless in this one. Juan Soto, 2 for 4. Had that base hit in the first inning to set the table for that after the Lindor leadoff walk. He also had the little excuse me single into left center field for an RBI knock. He also draws a walk walk in this one. Bo Bichette goes 0 for 4 and 3 strikeouts. And obviously there's some concern, but I think you're going to be fine and very satisfied with what Bo Bichette ends up finishing his year with. And we're going to get some big hits from him with runners in scoring position. He's the one guy I thought was going to come through because of his ability in the past and historically with guys on second and third. Today, I believe, went 0 for 2, maybe 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position if you don't include that, or if you do include that sac fly that he had to bring home the first run. But still, just don't be too worried about Bo Bichette is how I feel. 1 for 3 for Polanco. He also has an bases loaded walk for an RBI. He draws an additional walk. And like I said, Luis Robert Jr., the unsung hero in this game, if you ask me. It's not even so much about the 2 RBI hits that he had. Like I said, one of them being an RBI infield single between the pitcher and first baseman. The other one coming with 2 outs and 2 strikes for their run in the 4th. It's mostly about that really impressive walk that he drew to set the table for Brett Beatty in the 1st inning where the Mets broke out for 5 and knocked Paul Skeens out of this game. So huge game for Luis Robert Jr. Beatty, of course, the 3-run triple, struck out twice. Other than that, but you know what? It doesn't matter because he did his job in the beginning of this one. Marcus Semien gets credited with 2 hits. It's funny because the first one was that double to O'Neal Cruz that, you know, of course we know is not a double. And then the other was a line drive off the pitcher's glove that he did end up throwing away. He might have had a chance to get him there at first with a good throw, but he did scorch that ball. But Semien getting credited with 2 hits. 1 for 3 for Carson Benge. Of course, we know his first career home run and 2 walks. And then Francisco Alvarez, a home run and a base hit to right field in this one. So the Mets end up totaling 11 hits on 11 runs in this game. They are clean in the field, no errors, nothing like that. We saw Bo Bichette get an opportunity at third base today on a tough in-between hop. He was able to take care of that. His throw definitely did take Jorge Polanco off the bag a little bit, but despite that, was still able to come away with the out there. So nice to see those 2 guys over there handling business. Niners Command, my biggest takeaway was we have professionals hitters. They all come up with a plan trying to execute. They do. They really look that way today. And look, like I said, it's game 1 of 162. That might not be the case here coming, very shortly. Could be by tomorrow. We are singing a totally different tune. By the way, Munetaka Murakami with his first big league home run out in Milwaukee. So that's pretty cool to see. I was a fan of trying to go after Murakami, but he just went yards. So that's nice to see. But I agree, this lineup looked professional. They look like they have a plan. And I do wonder how much of it is potentially a part of the new hitting philosophy from this team. Jeff Albert and Snitker now as the actual official hitting coach down there in the dugout. I do wonder how much of this approach has been lent from those 2 guys and the overall philosophy from the organization versus the individual new players that the Mets have brought in. In any case, you have to love what you saw today, without a doubt. Really, really cool. Ray says, Danny Caps, last season it was May 1st and the first home run at Citi Field for Juan Soto. Yes, correct. It was and I didn't realize it took Juan that long, almost a month for him to get his first Citi Field home run as a Met. Blast Radius, biggest takeaway, this team has chemistry. All right. I'm going to wait a little bit to agree with you on that. I'm not saying they don't, but everybody seems to have energy and chemistry on opening day, especially after a win, right? I mean, I don't think even after the loss last year in Houston that we thought, this team has no chemistry, but they seemed enthused. They seemed excited, and why shouldn't they be? They just had a nice W against the Pirates at home, right? So why not? So I'm hoping that is the case, and you're right. Joe Saturn, those bifocals, no, they're not. They're just ordinary glasses. I have no idea, but I don't know. They have the little line, but no. Bifocals have that line where these are close, right? And these are for far away, I think. I don't know. I'm new to glasses, so yeah, I don't like wearing them. I think I look like a nerd. But Ray, Bo played a decent third base. He did, yeah, without a doubt. Fuqua Johnson, Tony, I loved your spring training coverage. Fuqua, thank you, man. I appreciate it, man. You have no idea how badly I wish I was still out there in sunny Florida. The weather's okay where I'm at right now, but definitely prefer down there, no doubt about it. But I appreciate you tuning in for all the spring training coverage that we did. And look, now we continue it here for the regular season. Like I said, post-game streams after every single game. daily Mets content here on YouTube, on all the other platforms that are linked in the video, or I'm sorry, in the description of this video down below. So let's see. They look focused, Ray. They did look focused. I mean, looks just death by 1,000 paper cuts. That's what Matt Vasgersian said today on the broadcast. There were a couple innings where the Mets just kept putting the ball in play, drawing walks, going station to station. They didn't need to have a big grand slam. They got those 2 solo home runs when they already had a 5-6 run lead at that point, whatever, 4-run lead, I guess it would have been before Benge and then Alvarez went back to back. So look, that's sustainable. It's not always possible to just, rely on Pete Alonso to hit a 3-run home run or Mark Vientos to hit a 2-run home run the way the Mets had to win games over the past 2 years. So the Mets are still going to have games like that where you have Juan Soto, you have Lindor, you have Bo Bichette hitting a big home run, Beatty maybe, and we even got to see it from Benge and Alvarez today. I still think that Simeon's going to be a power, good in the power numbers this year. I think the same for Luis Robert Jr. Jorge Polanco hit 26 home runs last year. So for all the crying of we lost too much power, I don't agree with that, first of all. And second of all, how about 11 runs today on some dinks, some dunks, putting the ball in play, drawing some walks, going station to station? There's ways to do it. Neckman, Myers looked good. Yeah, he looked solid. Obviously gives up a home run in the first inning. Guys, I'm a little rusty here doing the streams because, it's been a while, obviously, almost 6 months or whatever it was since September 28th of last year, September 29th. So I'm trying to remember my flow of everything here, but I do usually run through everything, and we kind of skipped that because there was a lot to get to. But we touched on Peralta's line, and then they ended up going to Tobias Myers, who, of course, we know came over in the trade with Peralta from Milwaukee. First inning, ends up giving up a solo shot. That was to Ryan O'Hearn the other way, but able to settle in. That was the only hit he gave up. He does not walk anybody. 3 innings, just the 1 run against Tobias Myers, and he was able to get the ball to Luis Garcia. That was a little concerning. I'm not going to lie. Garcia going that 1 lone inning in the 9th, giving up 3 hits, including 2 doubles that end up scoring 2 runs. Yes, he has 2 strikeouts. He was able to wiggle out of it. It's unfortunate you even have to see Devin Williams getting up in the 9th inning when you enter it with an 11-5 lead. Fortunately, he did not have to get loose or hot very quickly because Garcia was able to finally put the game to bed there, as it does end up being an 11-7 win for the Mets. So I am without my headsets, but we are going to listen to the interviews that we have here on SMY, just see if there's anything worth hearing here. So let me, if you just bear with me here, and I think we're going to be able to make this work. So Carson Benge talking about how it was today at Citi Field in his Mets debut.
This setting here at Citi Field for an opener.
It was amazing. The crowd was loudest I've ever heard, times 5. So being able to hear that was pretty sick.
What was it like to be a part of this?
Yeah,
this setting here?
I went to opening day last year. That was awesome, and I wish I could have been there this year, but with all the time and coverage I spent down in Florida for spring training, I did not have the opportunity to do that again. But it seemed like a lively crowd, obviously as expected. For all the naysayers, for all the people that wanted to, crap on the Mets and on David Stearns and on Steve Cohen for getting rid of their beloved Mets, and don't get me wrong, I love Pete Alonso, I love Brandon Nimmo, I love Edwin Diaz, but I was ready to move on at that point, and so were the Mets. And so for all that ballyhoo about losing some of those guys, they showed out at Citi Field today, and they were loud. So Carson Benge recognizing that as well. He definitely seemed to get the biggest ovation of any of the Mets today during the opening ceremonies. Here he is again.
How would you describe your emotions today before the game and then going out there for the first time?
Definitely anxious to get out there, ready to start playing, and definitely everything I thought it was going to be.
How would you describe your emotions?
Yeah,
today?
I mean, you couldn't really ask for a better debut. He begins with the 2 strikeouts, and it's not like I was like, oh no, I'm worried it's going to be a bust. Like, obviously, some people might start thinking, but to come out to hit the home run, to draw 2 walks in this one, pretty freaking awesome from Carson Benge. Let's see what Bo Bichette had to say about the Mets at bats this afternoon against Paul Skeens. Like I said, knocking him out before he finishes the first inning. Just crazy stuff. But before I do get to Bo Bichette right here, let me go back to the chat here. Blast Radius, do you guys see Vientos playing? I mean, at some point, they're going to put him in there. I think he'll DH. I think it's tough to do it after a day like today where you have Brett Beatty with the 3-run triple, Jorge Polanco with a solid day. He looked okay at first base as well. So you don't want to take one of those guys out after having nice performances at the plate, right? So, I mean, eventually, yeah, Vientos is going to have to play. I'm sure against some lefties, he's going to probably take Brett Beatty's spot. I'm not sure on Polanco's splits, whether he's a better right or left-handed hitter. I believe he might be a better left-handed hitter. Don't quote me on that. But eventually, at some point, Vientos is going to have to play. And I think that's their plan, is against lefties, try to give him in the, put him in the very best position possible to succeed. But let's see. Who else do we got here? Myers, long man out of the pen, says RM 1042. Absolutely. Look, I think that's been the plan since they acquired Myers. He's going to be a guy that maybe makes an occasional spot start, a guy that, can give you length, a guy that, could do pretty much anything. He could also be a high leverage guy at some point this year. So he's a Swiss Army knife. It's nice to have him. I look at him a lot like the Mets used to use, who was it? Oh, man, that came over in the Javi Baez trade. I say his name all the time because I've referenced him before. Who came over in the Javi Baez trade, guys? Help me. The long man out of the bullpen that made some starts for them as well. Please help me. I can't believe I can't think of this right now. I'll get back to it in a second here. Tony HVAC Garcia had 2 bad pitches. Yeah, no, he left some over the plate without a doubt. Jimmy James C., my man Tony, late to the stream. Nice to get a W to start the season. Yes, sir. Don't worry, Jimmy James. Good to have you. I am happy to be here. Pete Alonso is at the plate right now, so we'll keep our eyes on that one. I'll let you know what happens. But, yeah, really nice for the Mets to get this W. Really nice for them to get it in the fashion that they did, especially, of course, as we've said here ad nauseum now, to knock Skeens out in the first, to bunch hits together the way they did, to draw walks the way they did, play crisp and solid defense in the field. Decent performance from the bullpen, notwithstanding Luis Garcia in the 9th, although it wasn't horrible. He was able to clean up his mess pretty quickly. So it's a really nice opening day without a doubt. And hey, the Mets are at the top of the NL East, baby. Pete Alonso just hit one to deep right center field at the track, and that is where it will be caught. Byron Buxton, 2 steps in front of the wall, is able to catch that one and retire Pete Alonso very nearly with his first Baltimore home run. Trevor Williams, thank you. Yes, that's who I was talking about. Trevor Williams, that's who I meant. I appreciate it, Ray. That's kind of how I look at Tobias Myers, a guy that could be a swingman, a guy that can give you 3 to 4 innings of relief, a guy that maybe piggybacks if somebody needs it out of the starting rotation, a guy that could enter the starting rotation at some point and could even pitch in some high leverage innings because he's done that before as well. So I'm excited about Tobias Myers without a doubt. Let's see. Ray says if Brett keeps it up, Marky V will be the odd man out. I mean, here's the thing though, there's nowhere to put Mark Vientos. Like, Vientos is going to get his shot here for the first 2 months and we'll see what happens. But the only other thing is for him to either accept a minor league demotion, an assignment, or the Mets are going to DFA him, which I don't see them doing. I think they either have to find a trade partner or see that he's willing to accept a minor league assignment, which I don't know how he'd feel about that. But there's really nowhere else to put Mark Vientos at this point. Trevor Williams, yes. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Joe, Tony, are you going to miss McNeil's tantrums? It's funny because 2 years ago on opening day against the Brewers, if you recall, it was when McNeil got slid into it second by Rhys Hoskins. And while I don't think it was the most textbook type of slide, I don't think it warranted the reaction that McNeil gave, and it caused the benches to clear. It was just another one of Jeff's moments, and I will not miss those Jeff moments. That is for sure. I was ready to move on from Jeff for a handful of years now, if I'm being completely honest. So no, I will not miss those moments, and I am happy for this new era of Mets baseball. Let's listen to what Bo Bichette had to say regarding the Mets' performance today, specifically against Paul Skeens.
Get from that, coming back to Paul after giving up for our first 2 runs in the first game?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first game, but, I think it could give us a glimpse into what we want to be as a team. Getting down early, coming back against, maybe the best in the game. That's good stuff, so I try to keep it going.
How much confidence?
Yeah, and hey, this is coming against, guy that went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts in this game. And we know, obviously, Bichette was able to drive in a run with the sac fly the first run of this game, but man, if you get once you get Bo Bichette going, you're going to be really, really happy with this lineup. And it doesn't mean it's going to be like this every single day, scoring 11 runs, but they grinded out some really impressive at-bats today, without a doubt. That was fun to watch. Freddie, obviously we know, not the most perfect type of Mets debut. Wow, someone on the Cardinals just went above the wall and robbed a homer. That was impressive. I wish I knew who that was. But let's see. Freddie asked if if you guys didn't know this already, he was known for hosting his Brewers teammates at his house for little get-togethers, and apparently is a very good cook. So here's what Freddie had to say if he's going to be having any of his Mets teammates over tonight.
Barbecue would go tonight? The barbecue would go tonight, first one?
I wish. I don't know. You never know. So I'm going to keep it in secret. You may.
You can't wipe the smile off this guy's face. It's really fun. It reminds me a lot of Pedro, in the beginning, at least, of his Mets career before the Wilpons, infected him, unfortunately, and to no fault of Pedro's own. But let's see. Let's also see what he thought about his Mets debut at Citi Field. Here he is.
Or even any other one, but, in a different uniform.
Yes. I don't know how to explain you right now what is the difference, but it feels different, yeah. Of course. The energy from the first bit to the last one, you can feel it.
Awesome. And look, we know we're some pretty good fans. Oh, wow. I do want to hear what Skeens has to say. I think this will be the last one. I'm going to go through the chat. Then I'm going to listen to what Skeens had to say. But we know what Mets fans, of course, are. They're a lot of fun. And I'm glad that Freddie was able to have experience that and get the W in his first Mets start. So, hey, National League win leader last year. Not that I cared a whole lot about wins for starting pitchers. They're really meaningless, obviously, as we know. But nice to see him get the first one in the orange and blue. Let's see. Who do we got here? This is, I guess, what I'm going to have to do moving forward. Put the glasses on when I got to look down at the chat. Ray, best first inning opening day ever. I mean, that was awesome. When he dropped the second ball on Simeon's fly ball to center, I was like, oh, my God, what is going on? I mean, this game was off the rails almost from the jump, right? That was a lot of fun. I got to agree with you. Ray says, Bo will be Bo in time. Agreed, Tony. He was a little overzealous. A little, I think, excited in those first two at-bats. Not the first two with runners in scoring position, not the one where he had the sac fly to score the first run of the game for the Mets. But he swung out of his shoes at some pitches that were inside and a little high, and he ends up striking out on one of those. But I can't fault him, and I get it. Like playing in front of 45,000 ravenous new fans where you want to make a good first impression. Bo will be Bo in time, without a doubt. Neckman, Mets don't win with McNeil in the lineup. I looked up the stats. Glad we moved on. Look, man, there is a line of demarcation last year from when Jeff McNeil returned from his injured list stint to begin the year versus how the Mets played after he returned. That's all I'm saying. That is all I am saying, okay? Don't forget, 2024 second half, Jeff McNeil was injured and out for a majority of that. So I'm just saying. Look at the data points. Ryan Helsley is on to close out the game for the Orioles. They are leading 2-1 over the Twins. Josh Bell is at the plate. 2-1 Orioles over Minnesota. Let's see if two former Mets are going to get a W out there at Camden Yards. Let's see if Helsley can pick it up. Let's see. Who else do we got here? Joe Saturn. Only one game, but the team had a different energy today. I totally agree, Joe, and so does Ray. It sounds like I think so. Joe, you better let Mookie handle the chat. Mookie's exhausted. We just made the drive back from Florida. Mookie is out in the other room laying down. He is chilling big time. Hell's bells, says Ray about Ryan Helsley. Well, so far he's got one out, but he's now behind 2-1 on Josh Bell. So let's see how Helsley does. What a disaster that was, man. Look, it did feel like a different energy today. Again, it's only one game, and it is opening day. So, of course, we feel like it's a new energy, like everything is gravy because you got the W, but it did. I did feel that way, and it's the way they scored. It's the way they played. It just felt fresh, and this is what I said a lot of this offseason. I was ready for a fresh start after the way those final 3 months of 2025 went. So agreed, and let's hope this is the norm and that this continues, and they continue to have more chemistry and energy and all that stuff. Helsey with the strikeout. He's 1 out away from closing this game out. All right, let's see what Paul Skeens had to say about his rough outing against Mets. I mean, easily the worst appearance in his major league career to this point, without a doubt.
You gotta look at it for what it is. You know, there wasn't a ton of hard contact. Leadoff walk is not great. But yeah, you know, some balls landed that, or you know, the Polanco ground ball, you know, stuff like that. So it's just, you know, it's like the batting average on balls in play thing was super high today, and that'll go down as the.
Yeah, look, I mean, a lot of this, you can't really fault Skeens. The command was off, though. I mean, yeah, the blue pit from Soto, obviously the 2 missed plays by O'Neill Cruz. By the way, it was Kyle Schwarber with the home run that gave the Phillies the lead in that game. I can't stand that dude. He's so damn annoying, right? Anyway, yeah, tough one for Skeens, but here's the world's smallest violin because I care about the Mets. So anyway, yeah, tough one for him without a doubt. Let me go to the chat, and then we're going to take a look and preview the Mets' next game, which is Saturday, rather. Hopefully the weather will hold up this weekend. It does not look great. Mostly just cold, but not so much rain, which is good news. They should be able to get the games in, but we'll take a look. So real quick to the chat, RM1042, get contact lenses. Once they're in, you'll barely know they're there. Dude, I tried contacts when I was younger. I cannot get over the idea of opening and touching my eyeball. I just can't do it. I just cannot do it. And then I've heard things about, you know, if you forget to take them out and then your eyes get dry and itchy, and I'm doing the glasses. We'll see if this becomes a problem, I'll go. But I was probably 21, maybe a little younger, 18, and I could have used just a mild prescription at that time and just cannot do the whole touching my eyeball thing. I just can't. But maybe in the future, I'll keep you up to date on that. Neckman, hate the drive from NYC to Florida. It's brutal. I mean, it's a 2-day thing if you really gun it and push it, and that's exactly what I did, and I am paying the price right now. I am beat without a doubt. Scott Sherman, good stuff. Scott, good to have you here. CB, what's up? The first inning felt like the Family Guy scene. The one where they say, here's the first pitch and the season's over? Absolutely, after Peralta's 2-run homer, but it kind of felt like a Family Guy scene the way the Pirates were kicking the ball around as well. So glad the Mets were the beneficiary of that there in the bottom half of the inning. Ray, if this energy and approach keeps up, it'll be I'll be a Stearns Glazer. Yes, I like that. A Stearns Glazer. That's what we need, right? Another Stearns guy. I'm not a big Stearns guy, and I'm a guy that believes in his vision, but I'm not someone that defends every single move or decision that he makes. So, you know, so far he's vindicated today, but again, it's just one day. All right, guys, here it is. Let's preview the Mets' next game. Like I said, it will be Saturday. I believe it is a 4:10 game, of course, pending weather. It's supposed to be chilly in New York, so we will see, and it will be David Peterson taking on Mitch Keller, who the Mets have been rumored to be interested in since last year's trade deadline about acquiring. He's just a really steady presence on the mound. Peterson was that for the first half last year, as we know. Really solid all-star campaign, and things completely went downhill after that. As we know, August and September were just brutal to him. We'll take a look at his numbers overall from last year. Last season had finishes with a 4.22 ERA. The one thing I mentioned all off season, though, guys, was this was by far the most amount of innings that he had ever thrown in his career, 168.2 innings, and that's really when he started to putter out. Those last 7 or 8 starts in August and September is when he started to wear it a lot, and that's when his numbers really ballooned up. He does end up giving you 30 starts. That was the first time he's done that in his career, though, so that was nice to see, and hopefully now he's kind of built up a little bit of, you know, ability to go deeper, to you know, be able to pitch a complete season. It's a little upsetting or, you know, frustrating that a former first-round pick that's in his 7th big league career, not including the 2020 bizarre season, still hasn't figured out how to be a full-time starter, but you know, it is what it is, and let's hope that we get first half David Peterson Peterson from last year. I'll really quick look at the game logs. Like I said, guys, was tremendous for the first couple months of the year through July, and then August and September really, really hurt him. 5 2/3, 2 runs, not a bad one there. But before that, it was 6 runs against the Braves. I believe that was a game where the Mets led 5-0 at one point, and they ended up losing that one. Before that, 4 runs in 6 innings. A couple starts later, 8 runs. That disaster against the Marlins. I believe it was a Saturday afternoon game at Citi Field, and then just really never could correct course. 4 earned runs, 3 earned runs, 6 earned runs, and 5 earned runs in his final 4 starts, all coming in September. So really tough finish to the season for David Peterson last year. Hopefully he picks up where he left off from the first half and not from those last 2 months of the year. Meanwhile, like I said, Mitch Keller, guy the Mets had been interested in throughout the last year or so. He's just a steady presence. Like I said, he's nothing fantastic, but he could go out there and shut you down if you're not careful. I think he actually did have a good start against the Mets last year, if I'm not mistaken. He finished the season a 6-15 record. That's what happens when you're pitching for the Buccos, but a 4.19 earned run average over 32 starts. I believe that was like his fourth consecutive year making 30 starts. He had 31 appearances in 22, 29 starts, but had 32 starts in 23, 31 in 2024, and then again 32 starts last year. So he's your prototypical number 3, nothing super flashy, but when he's on, he can shut you down. He is also vulnerable though, and hey, if the Mets put up some at-bats the way they did today against him, they should have no problem getting some more runs up on the board. Last year, let's take a look at what he did. Excuse me as I try to clear my throat there a little bit. Against the Mets last year, that was May, he ended up going 7 innings of 2-run ball against the Mets. I think that was his only start, or maybe that he had one more, and then again in June. Yes, okay, so in June during that dreadful weekend series in Pittsburgh where the Mets got swept and outscored, what was it, like 32-9 or something like that, he ended up going 5 1/3 and giving up just 1 run. So look, Keller's a guy that pretty much everyone in this lineup has seen before, of course, except for Carson Benge being a rookie. He's a guy that's been in the league a long time, and this lineup is filled with guys that have also been around for a while as well. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Mets are able to get to him and put up another nice performance. Hopefully David Peterson, like I said, can get back to pitching the way he did in the first half of last year instead of the way things went in August and September. But guys, a nice opening day dub for the Mets. 5-run first, 3-run fourth, hits and RBIs from Luis Robert, a home run from Carson Benge for his first career bomb, Francisco Alvarez with a nuke. It was a fun day. I wish there wasn't that built-in off day tomorrow. I want more Mets baseball, and I want more Mets baseball right now, but this is your place to get it all, to get opinions, to get news, rumors, and speaking of news, last thing I'll leave you with, the Mets signing Tommy Pham to a minor league deal today. Of course, you guys know, played Pittsburgh last year, played with that 2023 squad, called them out for being, quote, the laziest group of position players he had ever played with. So who knows, maybe a little redemption for Tommy Pham, who's been active on social media lately, keeping in shape and everything. So not a bad depth signing. So we'll see if he ever ends up getting into the fold here. But a nice afternoon for the Mets. Let me round it out with the chat here. Who else do we got? CB. Then reverse quick fun times. Yes, exactly, in that first inning. Jimmy James Benge looking like he might become a new favorite Met. Absolutely, I'm with that, Jimmy. Ray, thank you for tuning in. Neckman changed his mind, playing the enforcer. Oh, I love it. Pham the enforcer. All right, guys, this has been fun. Keep it tuned here. We'll be back. More content coming tonight and tomorrow, and of course another post-game stream on Saturday as well. Until next time though, guys, I'm Tony Metro. Stay true to the orange and blue.